Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, all the way from Osaka, Japan, Brendan Taylor, True School Sports. How you doing, man?
What's good, Jorge? Good to see you, man.
Good to
Or
see
Japan, they say Ayete Okata. You again.
you. Yes, obviously you're joining us very quickly to preview the Angelo Leo, Tomoki Kameda bout. You're embedded with the Angelo Leo camp as you've been for the last few camps. You've
Hmm.
been following this dude for this last few years. He's obviously a native of our Albuquerque, New Mexico here, but how do you see him? What have you noticed different about this camp than your past experiences with those guys?
Oh man, um, I think the Venado Lopez fight has done a lot for his confidence. The word I've used to Angelo when I've spoken to him, watching him train, is he just looks a little more self assured these days. Like he knows who he is, and he's like that old saying of fighters getting 10% better or 20% better when they win the title. I think it applies here because I'm not gonna get into exactly what it is, but he's done some things in the gym. I've been watching Angelo in the gym for like almost half a decade, almost 5 years, and he's been doing some things where I'm like, "Yo, when did you learn this?"
And
So
one thing I was saying earlier, and sometimes when you see fighters win, the knockout versus Bernardo Lopez, when you look at that replay, man, and I've watched it at least 100 times,
yep,
on how straight that thing came over the top, and it's such a standard punch, but
yeah.
what I notice is, a fighter falling in love with like their own art or their own skill. Do you see Angelo just going back to that left hand and just falling in love with it too much tonight?
No, absolutely not. I think you know, because now like even though he's not known as a quote a knockout puncher, he's had 4 fights at featherweight. 3 of them have been by stoppage. So I think at featherweight there would be a habit to fall in love with your power, but I think Miguel Leo, even though Miguel Leo probably longer than me, and Miguel has done a great job of always making sure that Angelo's well rounded. He's very hard on him. He's always working on taking the weaknesses and turning those into strengths. So no, I don't see that being a punch that he falls in love with.
Yeah, so obviously the fight's taking place in Osaka, Kameda's hometown, and you got Kameda Promotions backing this thing up. Are there any concerns there?
There's always those concerns because you're on the road. But it's weird. It's been a bit odd, right? Because as you know on my channel, I follow a lot of Japanese boxing, so I watched a lot of these Japanese build-ups before. I don't think I've ever seen a fighter from America fighting in Japan gets as much of a like reception as Angelo
Wow.
because there's this disdain and this hatred for the Kamedas, which I still don't fully understand. I've asked everybody in Japan, from the fans to the boxing industry. I still can't wrap my head around why he's hated so much, but they hate him for some reason. So Angelo's getting a lot of praise and a lot of support. And another thing too, Jorge, is when we were at the weigh-in, not the weigh-in, the media work, I should say. After we were done, Kameda's brother Koki came up to Miguel and he was like, being friendly, like he wanted to take him out on the town. He was saying that he wants to do business with him in the future and maintain a good relationship. So I don't know. It's been a bit weird, but I don't think it matters. And Angelo will get it done.
Yeah. So what threats, if any? I'm gonna have you put the opponent's
Okay.
cap or shirt or jersey on. Let's just say, for the sake of a better sports analogy, what can Kameda do well to give Leo fits tonight?
I think if I'm looking at it from the Kameda perspective, I think the key for what he has with his skill set, I would say is volume. I would say he's got a lot of speed. He likes to come forward. I think he has to try to exploit that speed and come forward as much as possible in the early rounds. He doesn't really have like a high level, high volume type of a jab. He normally uses his jab as more of like a range finder to close the gap. So I think, with all respect to Kameda, the former world champion, I just think he's, for the most part, outgunned. But I think if I'm looking at one thing, is probably volume. And then, sometimes Angelo can maneuver himself into a position to get countered. So, I think he has to recognize those openings and try to exploit that if he can.
Yeah, and I guess before we get too deep into this, and I forget to ask you what's your prediction for tonight or
Ah,
tonight, your time,
yeah,
early this morning here in the
yeah.
U.S.
I'm gonna go Angelo Leo stoppage in 8 rounds or less.
Ooh. One thing I was talking about on the other live is the fact that Osaka's at about 7 inches elevation, where
Right.
Albuquerque and Santa Fe, obviously in Santa Fe, you're 7,500 feet. And then you add the mountains, that's another 85, 9,000 feet. I'm interested in seeing what I do whenever I cover fights, and I know fighters are training at elevation. I like to see how they're training, how they're sweating, how they're looking that fight week, whether it be at the media workout, which tends to be really light, or I know
Mhm.
you've been out there a little bit longer than that, but have you seen anything with regards to Leo's engine and just acclimation to the sea level?
I think he's acclimated just fine because he got here about 2 days before I got here, and ever since when we got to Osaka, because I was pretty much the guy that was in charge of like organizing what we're going to train because they didn't know anything. The team didn't really know people in Japan, so when we got to Osaka, the gym we trained at, it was called Tenjin Boxing Gym in Osaka. Kanichi Yamaguchi, the former world title challenger, that's his gym. He fought Orlando Salido back in the day, like 10 years ago. But that gym, I don't know what it is about that gym, because it doesn't feel hot, but the lighting or whatever makes fighters sweat a lot more. Because Angelo would sweat very early in his sessions. Joseph Macedo and Fernando Paredes, the other two sparring sessions, sparring partners, they would sweat a lot earlier in the training session. So I think what we were training was allowing the fighters to get a good sweat early, which I think will play a good role in this fight.
Yeah. Uh, the odds right now, the highest one I saw was Leo at minus 700 and Kameda somewhere like the five plus 500s or whatever, plus 600s even.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel the odds are fair, or where would you have placed it?
I think I think they're about fair. I mean, Kameda is a veteran and he's a former world champion, so you give him his respect. But he has, if you go check under the hood and look at his box rec, he hasn't really fought a guy close to this level in a while. He's even taken some guys like there's that Filipino Kevin Villanueva who fought Elijah Pierce, dragged him up in weight. So it's been very selective matchmaking from Kameda Promotions. They've done a good job of managing him for where he's at now. But this is a different level. I just, with all respect to him, I would be shocked if the fight gets into the championship rounds.
For those of you just joining us, Brendan Taylor with True School Sports. He's embedded with the Angelo Leo camp out at in Osaka, Japan. So the fight's taking place on ProBox, so you can either check it on their app or on their YouTube channel. The as far as fight time is 12:30 a.m. Mountain time. That's the start of the co-main event, is what the PR team at ProBox is saying. So you can anticipate that the main event between the two guys that we're talking about to happen within the hour and a half afterwards. So it's going to be a very early morning, late night for a lot of us here in Albuquerque. But Brendan, while I have you, I just want to kind of talk about just your, I guess, rise in media, just popularity there in Japan, and what's drawn you to the country, man.
Yeah,
Recently, it's been cool following you and seeing you in all these gyms.
it's been a very interesting journey, man. And I can't say it was something that it wasn't anything I planned on like happening. I just kind of fell into it. Like, so it all started like in 2016 when Naoya Inoue started getting really popular in the States, when HBO would talk about him fighting Chocolatito. And I really liked him, and people weren't really talking about him a lot at the time. So I started making videos about him, right? And then, there was another fighter from Japan. You may remember him, Shinsuke Yamanaka, the WBC bantamweight champion. I used to always see his name on the pound for pound list, and I'm like, who is this guy? So then I started like watching him, and just so I can know who he is, because he's on the pound for pound list. And then I watched this fight with Anselmo Moreno in the rematch. That was a really good fight. And then from there, it kind of just grew, Then I started covering guys like on my channel, like Kenshiro Taraji, Katsunori Takayama. But really, Jorge, like I would say it was around like the Fulton fight. Like I always did my NOA videos because I love watching this fight, and I stayed awake very early for a lot of his fights. But around the Fulton fight, that's where things got kind of crazy, because I was really excited about that fight. And I remember I had this great crazy idea of going to Japan for the fight. So then I started like a GoFundMe, and then got in contact with all these Japanese boxing fans. They're sending me like Japanese boxing magazines and programs. And then I've been here like 2 times over the last half a year, and made a lot of connections, which have helped a lot of people in boxing. And yeah, that's kind of like the long and the short of it. I love the country because boxing drew me to the country, but then it's like the people that I met along the way that I keep me coming back. Japanese people are amazing.
Yeah, it's a beautiful culture, man. I've only gotten the chance to go once, but just incredible, man, to be able
Where'd
to.
you go?
I went to Nagoya, which I
Oh
think is the
yeah,
fourth largest city,
yeah.
and then I was in Tokyo for a bit.
Okay.
So, which Tokyo is a fucking shit show, man. That's a wild fucking city,
It's
man.
big over there.
Yeah,
Angelo loves Japan. He said he wants to come back very, very
yeah,
soon. So
yeah, yeah. I like that I got to experience Nagoya because it was a good mix of like, even though it's a pretty big city, it's a mix of like country life and city life. So that was cool to be out there, man. Those karaoke bars are no joke, dude.
no, no, no. you could have, you could have a lot of fun there and then get into a lot of trouble
Oh,
very fast.
I mean, it's been a while. It's been like 15 plus years, but I remember it was $35 all you can drink, man. That was the craziest night ever, man.
Yeah, they
So
give you your
yeah,
bank out here.
yeah, it's wild. Man, but I appreciate you jumping on. What do you think next for Leo? Should he pull the victory off later this morning, later this evening?
Hmm. Good question. Obviously, what we would like is the unification fights against the likes of Rafael Espinoza and all those guys, the top guys. Obviously, everybody and the mother wants to fight Inoue, but if not those fights, I would anticipate probably like a voluntary defense in New Mexico. We got to focus on Kameda. Kameda's right now. We're treating Kameda like he's Inoue. Like he might as well just be Inoue or Salvador Sanchez, but. As long as he handles business, I would say if not, the unification fights first. If not that, then I would anticipate probably something in New Mexico because this fight was actually supposed to be like in New Mexico before Kameda was offered. Top Rank told Angelo after the Bernardo fight that I was there. Bob told Angelo, he said, "Hey, we're gonna try to get you your next defense in New Mexico," and obviously we're not even in America. So I think Angelo would probably want to give the hometown fans something to look forward to and give them a fight.
Yeah, assuming the next fight is a big name, and I'll use big, selectively here. You got Inoue, Espinoza, or I don't know, the oddball seems to be like Nick Ball. I don't know why. Like that, like is there anything there?
Um, I haven't heard or seen anything. I think Nick Ball and Turkey Al Sheik and Frank Warren they're trying to angle at him fighting Inoue. I've heard a lot about Inoue. I heard Inoue's gonna do this whole Canelo Bam Rodriguez thing where he's gonna fight. He's gonna fight merge on Akhmadaliev, then go up to 126. And then if he wins, come back down. I've heard that, but I don't really know. So I haven't heard anything about Nick Ball. But if that paperwork were to ever get passed, we're prepared. We've done our homework on all these guys.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. The most intriguing, well, obviously the most intriguing would be in Inoue, I feel, but the most unique one would be, I think, for me, the Rafael Espinoza, just because of the complexity that he is in a Stretch Armstrong figure.
Yeah, no, Rafael Espinoza is an awesome fighter. I love Rafael Espinoza. Kind of wish he wasn't at featherweight because I don't want to have to root against him. I like him that much, but his last fight, I thought it looks like he's been working a bit more on boxing from the outside, which I think if he can get improve at that would really take him to a whole another dimension. So I think right now, in a way aside, if I'm looking at the fights at featherweight, that's the best fight. I think Angelo versus Espinosa is the best and most explosive fight that could be made amongst
Awesome.
the.
I love it. I love hearing that, man, because it's just very, very intriguing. It's an intriguing time in the lower weights, and I love how much they're featured, given that, two of the best boxers to ever come out of New Mexico were lower weights, and Johnny Tapia and Danny Romero, man. But hey,
Both trained by Luis Chavez, by the
yep,
way.
yep, exactly. So it's just incredible to see him still in the game after 30 years, 30 plus years, right? You're talking about 40 some years in the
You
experience
probably
from that guy. But
seen him on forever, Luis Chavez.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, he's definitely a staple here, man. And you can't write the book of New Mexico boxing without his name, or hell, the book of Southwest boxing without his name in it, man. But I appreciate it. Before I go watch this fucking Lilo and Stitch movie with my kids, man, anything else from you?
All I can say is, first of all, go enjoy that movie, and then second of all is, get everybody please like tune in to the fight tonight or in the morning on Pro Box. Even if you gotta drink coffee, whatever you gotta do to get yourself awake, just go ahead and do that because I promise you it'll be well worth staying up. You won't regret it.
Brendan Taylor, boys and girls, True School Sports. I always appreciate you, man. All right, take
Thank you.
care, man, and good luck
All
tonight.
right, thank you.
All right, take care.
Thank you for watching another video on the untouchable True School Sports Empire. I'm in the fight capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada, and we got a monster in town. For more great boxing content from America to Japan and everywhere else in between, make sure you guys subscribe, stay tuned, and keep it locked.